Welcome to another edition of How Did I Get Here? Today we've got Rakel from Dreamwife, an amazing British band. Even though Rakel is not British, she's Icelandic and went to elementary school in the Bay Area, which we learn about on this podcast. Wonderful, lovely human, lots of incredibly intelligent, insightful, and uplifting things came out of her mouth in this conversation. I don't want to say any more other than the latest record from Dreamwife comes out June 9th. They'll be touring across the UK almost all of this year, except for a week when they grace us with their presence in the United States. September 15th, they are coming to New York, and they'll be playing Portland on September 17th at Mississippi Studios, Barboza in Seattle on the 18th, coming to the amazing Bottom of the Hill on the 20th of September, and closing up their week in the States on September 21st. Speaking of Bottom of the Hill, we talked about something. I have a slight correction. I'll get to that at the end of that. But before we dig into the conversation, why did I call it a call? Here is Orbit, the third single off of Social Lubrication, in stores and at your local DSP on June 9th.
In our past lives, were we lovers? In our past lives, we knew each other. You could have been my teacher, you could have been my sister, you could have been someone that I would lean on. In our past lives, were we brothers? In our past lives, we definitely knew each other. You could have been my best friend, you could have been my mother, you could have been someone that I would lean on. As I orbit around you, now that I found you and you found me too. As I orbit around you, now that I found you and you found me too.
So Rakel, that's the right way to pronounce it, correct?
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Welcome. Thank you for joining me on How Did I Get Here? I have lots of questions to ask you. Most of them are going to be, or the first one is going to be really boring to the listener, so I'm going to edit it out. But tell me about those gold or platinum records behind you. That's
yeah,
array.
that's definitely not a fake Zoom background. I'm in Iceland right now, and I've been doing some consultancy for an Icelandic label, which has been quite fun, and also gives me an opportunity to go back to Iceland and see my family a bit more.
So wait, what was the label again?
It's called Alta Music.
Okay. What does Alta Music do?
Well, Iceland's a tiny country. It has about 350,000 people on the island, but it has a pretty impressive record of songs released and albums released and a lot of music coming from the island. And I've been working in London for the majority of my career, but I have a soft spot for championing artists from Iceland and sort of encouraging them to be brave and seek opportunities outside of the island and sort of exit that comfort zone. So I just started helping them a few months ago. So there's a lot of work these days, as in like we have an album campaign, but I really enjoy helping out a community as well. And there's so much talent in Iceland, and a lot of my friends work with this label too. And it's just what I've learned from being in Dreamwife and what I learned from starting a music career in England is always good, valuable information that I'm happy to pass on. So that's all the records behind me. I'm at the label offices right now, and yeah, I think it's important to support your community too.
Yeah, I do love that. I was thinking about Iceland may have its two biggest exports might be the two weirdest musical exports to gain arena status in the rest of the world. So, I mean, yeah, I hope you push more out because, a world that gave us you and Bjork and Sigur Rós it's a good world.
It is a good world, and it's fun to be weird, isn't it?
Mhm,
It is that kind of, there's so much talent in Iceland and so many incredible musicians, but often people don't know where to start.
mhm.
And, I mean, the name of this podcast is quite relevant to how did you get there? And I speak about this openly to many of my friends here is that I don't think I would have my career if I would have stayed on the island. Especially in rock, because that's the avenue I wanted to go down. It's so important to break out of your comfort zone as an artist in general. And you can often get very comfortable where you are, especially if you are in a small scene, if you're a big fish in a small pond. But that can only get you so far, and also creatively. So I really enjoy encouraging people that if, of course, financially it is difficult, say if you're moving to a new city or you just want to give it a go, and let alone if you have children or people to support around you, it is difficult. But yeah, I'm getting a lot of joy out of assisting other Icelandic artists, or at least giving them advice. And if they want to take it, they can take it. So that's also what I've been doing right now. But I'm also in an album campaign.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say,
like to
yeah.
do a lot of things. I'm a Sagittarius, and I get a lot of joy in being productive in stuff that I'm passionate about. And music is completely, you know, is my world.
That's beautiful. I think we've covered what we need to cover. Thank you. No, I'm kidding.
Oh.
So normally this podcast I go a little bit chronological, but you left me with so many different avenues to travel down with what you just said. So I'm going to jump back to the breaking out of the comfort zone of where you are because doing some research, I picked up the origins of Dream Life, and I didn't quite understand it. Like so is it true that you started the band just as a way to visit Canada?
That is very true.
Okay, tell me more about that because
There's
it
a
feels like there's a lot to that that's been clipped from that sentence.
there's a lot of different origin stories about us, which I find quite funny. Um, I like that there's different origin stories online, and Wikipedia is so wrong as well. But me, Alice, and Bella, we met in the University of Brighton, and I come from Iceland and moved to England to go to university, and they're from Somerset, so south of England. And one night, me and Bella were out. We were all friends before making this band. We only started the band towards the very end of uni, but we were out one night and we were dancing and we started talking about our friends in Canada. We had friends in different places, me and Bella, the bass player. And on the dance floor at 1 a.m., we thought of, well, we don't want to just go on a road trip around Canada. What if we make a band to fund our traveling? Which is a funny concept in hindsight because it's a lot more expensive. But we just thought of, yeah, we were like, let's make a band so we can go visit our friends and go on a road trip this summer. And we thought, okay, you and me, we need someone else in this band. So we messaged Alice, who was the sickest guitar player in town and was studying sculpture at the time with us in uni. And she was down. She replied the next day being like, yeah, I'd love to go to Canada with you and make a band.
So the first
Yeah. And
Canadian, so
what?
that tour you didn't have a drummer then, right?
No, our drummer, Alex Pavley, he he came like maybe a year later, which really it was this. So yeah, it was quite surreal. Basically, what
Mm.
we did was we decided to make a band. We wrote 4 songs, and then like 2 months later, we were in Canada playing a bunch of shows, and all of our friends helped out, and it was actually pretty amazing. It was a lot of like sleeping on sofas and traveling around in megabuses, and a lot of favors, and we had such a great time. And then when we came back a few months later, a bunch of our, because we hadn't even played shows in the UK yet. We'd only done one show at our uni gallery. I was studying performance art around the time that we decided to make this band, and I thought it would be a really funny thing to have my gallery piece as a band made with the sole purpose of going to Canada. So we only had played one show. And with these 4 songs that we had written, like 4 half-finished songs, we made them each 10 minutes long. So we would have a set length. And it wasn't until we came back and then a few months later passed and we had finished uni that we we were like, hey, maybe we should write some more songs and maybe we should play a show in the UK, London. So that's how it all started. And then it just became our careers, which is hilarious.
Yeah, and are any of these 10-minute songs still part of your set?
Yeah, there's a song called Hey Heartbreaker. That was one of the first songs that I think it was the first song we ever wrote. It's obviously it had many different lives though, and that became our first single when we did our debut. So that song was most of our songs are pretty much born on the road. We
Mm.
get a lot of inspiration and we test them out. So they've been in different various forms and we sort of listen to, is the audience suddenly singing along to a song they've never heard before? Is there a mosh pit being made at this part? Are they really craving for a longer guitar solo? Or it's more about like bouncing off of what the audience are excited about, and then we get excited about it too. So I feel like songs are consistently changing when we're writing them and also when we're playing them. Like, I don't think we play any of the songs similar to how they are on record because they just keep on changing with how we feel about them. I like that aspect of live music that songs are just, they're a living organism and a pumping heart and they're gonna change.
Yeah, I appreciate that you have a live record in your catalog already. Um, it it's it's crazy like listening to it without the visual. I could feel all of that, including the chaos of the 11-minute song at the end of it, where you. Again, this is something that I'll clip in a clip from it here. But that point, what's happening when you divide the audience in half? I couldn't quite tell.
Alright, this part here, you are Team A. Give it up for Team A. Alright, teams, I would now like to introduce to you your captains. Team A, be your captain, Alice. Team B, I would like you to be your team captain,
Um,
Do you remember?
that okay, that live record is actually really funny. It was our first show of 2020. We were about to go release an album mid 2020, and we had like 100 shows lined up, and we're gonna tour around the world. And on that, and our sound engineer just happened to record it because he tends to record a lot of our shows, and then he sort of mixes them afterwards and he changes it. He's absolutely brilliant, but he just recorded it just for fun. And in the beginning, we're like, this is our first show of 2020. And it was our only show of 2020. But when we were listening back to this that we recorded, we thought it'd be a fun thing to release, our only show of 2020. But I think in that part, we are testing out a song called Sports, and it's a duel between bass and guitar, Alice and Bella. And they basically have a duel with their instruments, and the crowd gets involved, and it's very chaotic, and it almost feels like a, a sports team kind of vibe. And people get involved, and then there's mosh pits, and people start to jump on the guitars and each other, and it's very funny. So that's it. I wonder if that can be translated to an audio recording, though.
I
Sort of
mean,
got to stick to believe it.
yeah, I mean, you did about as well as you could. But okay, so the recording was before COVID closed things down then, right?
It was, I think it was end of January 2020. Yeah.
Yeah,
Our
so
first show, our only show.
shows at the beginning of 2020 were absolutely batshit in general, because I think people could kind of sense what was happening. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, like I saw my last show before everything happened was Patti Smith at the Fillmore. And I've
Oh.
seen Patti Smith a lot, and it's the only time I've seen like a circle pit break out at a Patti Smith concert.
Yeah, there was definitely that kind of energy. I also remember one of the wonderful things about living in London is the amount of shows you're able to go to. And actually, the last show I saw was The Strokes, and it was the first time I had seen The Strokes in my life, and they have been one of my favorite bands since I was like 12. Um, so that was a beautiful moment. But I'm so happy that we have shows now again, and this kind of chaos is again part of our lives.
Yeah, and so I'm based in the Bay Area, which we may talk a little bit about the Bay Area because I found out that you lived here for.
I would
Uh,
love to talk about the Bay Area. Where are you in the Bay Area?
I'm in Oakland.
Oh, wonderful. I grew up in Santa Clara
Oh, awesome. Yeah,
and
that's
also Paradise. So Chico Paradise up in the
two
north.
two very, very different places.
Mhm.
Yeah. So the venue you're playing is Bottom of the Hill, and it's they're good venues here, but there aren't. Bottom of the Hill has a very particular energy to it, and have you played there before?
No.
Um, just it. I always to like growing up here, like you have your first show, and then you also have your first show at Bottom of the Hill. Like they're two different things. There's definitely like a, a drunken chaos to the place for good reason. Like it just has that vibe. It has like, and there's a back patio, and behind the stage there's a window and to going to the patio, and like for years that window was just cracked all over, because of chaos at a show that happened. I think it may have been an early Green Day show where like somebody ended up throwing a keg at they tried to throw a keg through the back window, and believe the drummer made it away from it okay, I hope. I mean, he's still around, so I'm assuming he did, but yeah, I got sad when they fixed it.
Well, it's part of the memory, isn't it?
Yeah, I hope there's some new damage to it when you folks come here. It also is kind of a trippy space because I think everybody ends up there really early on. And there's a week in the late 90s where the first of four bands, on one day it's the Shins and the next day it's Limp Bizkit. And it's just weird looking at that poster going, oh, there was a time when these bands played for I think $6 and they were the first of many. I think the Shins were actually like there was all you can eat barbecue bundled with the ticket.
I love that. Well, I'm happy to be part of this legacy. That sounds great.
It'll be good. So Santa Clara. So you did Santa. Where did you end up first?
My dad went to Chico State. Um, you know, it was the 90s.
Hmm.
Silicon Valley was a very exciting place. And he went to uni. I had just turned 2, and then I came back to America. I mean, to Iceland from America when I was about 11. So I had almost a solid decade there. Was completely uprooted, leaving the Sunshine State for a very dark, cold place that is Reykjavik, Iceland. It was a bit, yeah. You couldn't have picked more different places to raise your children, but I'm happy that I also had an experience in Iceland as well. But I'm so thankful for my parents to just to get to be raised in sunshine was really nice. Except I've learned now that my parents very rarely use sunscreen on me, and except for the beach. And me and my parents have had quite a big discussion about that recently. Because I'm quite a sunscreen fanatic, and you know, to each generation their own. But I'm a bit upset that we lived in California and they never put sunscreen on me.
Yeah, you are very fair skinned now, so I'm assuming when you were younger you were even fairer skinned. That seems very dangerous.
Exactly. Also, my mama never wants to wear hats either. I don't remember wearing hats either as a child. So I'm confused. I'm just happy that I don't think I have any sun damage.
You
But
know,
each generation for their own.
I feel I'm very happy that you haven't developed skin cancer yet. I think
Thank you
that's
so much. We'll
yeah.
find out in 10 years. Apparently, it shows up later in your life. We'll see.
Yeah, and if so, it is one of the easier to beat cancers. So
We
I
really
think
went down an interesting avenue with this, didn't we?
oh we did. The tangents are my favorite part of this show.
I mean, I'm very into sun protection now, and now my sister has babies, and they decided to move to Tenerife for a few months because the winters in Iceland have been really harsh. So much snow, so many storms in Reykjavik. So they decided to move there, and my mom and dad decided to go with. And these babies, they every time they put on sunscreen, they say that they're putting on sunscreen for me. So they call it Rakel sunscreen. And I was with them this past weekend. I was in Tenerife visiting them, and they were showing me their sunscreen skills. And I was like, "Great! Do you want to show Grandma and Grandpa?"
That's beautiful. For me, I found out that when friends are trying to decide whether or not they need to wear a mask when they go into a place, I'm the voice in their head that tells them to mask up on the way in. So I know what that's like.
We're just the voice of reason, you know. Also, it's a way of showing your love, I think, too. Just taking care.
Yeah.
Just checking up.
Yeah.
Like, are you wearing a helmet? Also, there's another discussions like with my mom and dad is that they like to cycle in Tenerife now. And I'm just like, great. Did you put on sunscreen? Did you wear a helmet? And my mom was like, oh no, we don't wear helmets. We're not, our generation didn't wear helmets. I'm like, Mom, your generation did not wear seatbelts either. And your generation also smoked on planes. So a lot has changed. Please wear a helmet.
Yeah, so that's one of those things where things change in a good way, and there's a reason that we stop doing those things.
Exactly. But I really like the bravery of my parents taking a bunch of little kids and they were in their, early 20s and just moving to a completely different country where they didn't know anyone and just going for it. And I'm also really happy that we came back to Iceland because I'm very blessed to be from a family full of actors and musicians and artists that were also very brave in, making ends meet with their art and trying to be creative in a landscape where they didn't really know how they would do that. My grandma's the first female director to direct in the National Theatre in Iceland, which I'm very proud of. And I've learned a lot from my grandma. My whole family, but me and my grandma are very, very close. And she's been a big inspiration for when I have moments of doubt or when I think I've chosen the wrong career path, which obviously came to mind when COVID was happening. And I'm like, I cannot believe I spent all these years studying music and working in music. And now the government is telling me that my profession is is illegal, and what I do for a living is illegal and doesn't matter anymore. So during these moments of doubt, in that way, it's good to have people that have around you in close reach and of different age groups too, to sort of remind you that it's not just, a career isn't a flash in a pan. It's how you want to continue on your own creative journey, whatever that might be. So I found a lot of strength from that, but I'm also really happy to have been raised in sunshine and have my dark, cold teenage years in Iceland.
I mean, it's a good balance, but also to be around such a creative family during that part of your life. The the I guess adolescence, when you're kind of finding your own and being around really influential people at that point. I'm curious, what year did your grandma start directing? Like, when did this happen?
I think this is late 60s.
Okay.
Yeah, late 60s or early 70s.
Okay.
She's also a creator and an actress.
There's part of me that's going to be worried that you're going to say like 2004 was when they had their first female director.
God, that would be terrible. I mean, this is apparently it's been voted like the most quality in the world for a country, but saying that we're only 350,000 people, so there's it's not that much. But there's I think that's also not right at all. But yeah, she's really brilliant and a lot of people around me, and I'm very thankful for that. Even just stuff like how to do your accounts, the importance of having a good accountant that understands music. Like you can have a good accountant, but if they don't really understand the music industry or artists in general, then that's going to be tricky for you down the line. So I think that's one of the most valuable lessons, really, just to have an accountant that understands music and art.
Yeah, I've recently reading a book about the comedian Phyllis Diller, and she brings up similar things because she was making a lot of money fairly quickly, but she let her husband kind of balance the books and manage her, and it did not turn out well for her financially. Like
for most, it's important to have an eye around and look at where your accounts are going. It's important. I think with Dreamwife, we're very involved in everything we do. I mean, we did go to art school. So and everyone who we work with, a majority are people that we have met in London or someone we've admired, through Instagram and reached out to work with us on creative projects. And that's been a really fun thing to do. And that's also why we signed with our label, Lucky Number, is that they said, you have full creative control. So it's more like, here's a budget, and if you need our help, we're here. But if you want to assemble a team, go for it. And that's been so much fun because we've been able to also make really good friends when you create stuff together. But this kind of overview of understanding what you're doing and not being so dislocated from it, and also expecting everyone or like someone to do it for you, I think is a dangerous slope. It's your project. It's really important to be involved, and also the finances, just to look over what's happening. What's the budget looking like? If you're too much kept in the dark, I think you're missing out on a lot. But also, it's just important to work with people you trust too, which is the most important part of any musical collaboration, whether it's the musicians you're working with or your team behind you. Has to be people that you really trust and that they're in it for the love of the live show or the love of the music, or they believe in a project. And, at the end of the day, they're investing in you and you're investing in them.
Yeah. I can also imagine that just having that insight for me would make me feel a lot more confident and more able to plan further out.
Big time. And also because we really want our live shows is really where this whole band comes together. Like the reason why we make albums is so we can play them live. The reason why we really do anything, whether it's music videos or press, or is to be able to sort of this ethos of how this band started. We made a band because we wanted to travel and see our friends. And that's exactly why we are still doing this band, because we want to get to know different communities too, like to get to know a musical community in the town, to get to sort of connect in this way, because connecting through a live music scene and festivals and as you're talking about this venue, like the legacy of that venue and the reoccurring communities that are within that, that's the most exciting thing about music to me. And the live shows also where you can completely let loose and be yourself and really lock in. Like the four of us really just lock in during a show. And it's magical, you know? And you don't really have many of those moments in life where you can just completely enjoy being in the present. And same as well, like watching shows. I often have that feeling too, where suddenly a half an hour goes by and I've been, you know, on a completely different wavelength than I was half an hour ago. And if I was feeling upset half an hour ago, or if someone stepped on my toe half an hour ago,
Mhm.
that's sort of, you forget that when you just lock into the music and enjoy being in the present of a live show. It's a
Yeah.
great feeling. It's so nice that we have live shows again.
Yeah, it was something that I definitely missed during the years of being absent from it. It's also like live music and theater are two kind of the only times where you're actually like seeing something being created in front of you,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to art being something that like comes later. So you kind of, I don't know, it feels very like you've been invited into something that you shouldn't see.
I actually had that talk with my aunt yesterday. She is a actress and she mainly does theater work. And a friend of hers had passed away at the wonderful age of 99, an excellent actor. And she was saying that the on the TV in Iceland they had done kind of reel about his life. And he had played all these incredible roles. But the stuff that was being shown was very much uh, he was known for being a character in it's in English. It's called Lille Klivemus in Icelandic, which is it's a mouse. He
Mm.
was a mouse in a child's play, and it was recorded on video, the play, and it was recorded for at the time, this is like in the 70s, like for like CDs and vinyl and stuff like that. And it's still today one of the most popular child albums released in Iceland. So all these great roles, King Lear and like all these incredible, um, impressive roles were not on display. Like he was remembered as the mouse because that was what was recorded. And that's what they had. And then these TV appearances. And she thought, how funny, like one of our greatest stage actors is being remembered as the mouse because it was recorded. But the magic that happens in the theater is something that is only witnessed by people. And same with live shows, unless, of course, the live show is recorded. But this kind of idea of it being a singular experience that is only witnessed at that moment and witnessed differently because everyone has a different viewpoint and everyone has different things going on in their heads. But that collective experience of experiencing something live and being in that moment and then only having the afterthought of that. I find that quite interesting. So interesting that you mentioned that. That took me back to that conversation I had with my aunt. So what are we remembered for? Are we remembered for something that was recorded? Or are we remembered for an experience that someone had and just lives on in their mind?
Yeah, yeah. Although I also don't want to undervalue the importance of creating art for kids.
Exactly.
I
No,
mean,
no. I mean,
yeah,
The Mouse was amazing. I loved that album. We were just talking about how that was the main, the main thing. But it
yeah.
is so. We really want to do a kids album too.
Uh, I'm
We've been talking about that.
I am all in. So I have a 4-year-old whose taste in music far out exceeds her age. Like
Ooh,
like she's really into Gillian Welch and the B-52s,
ooh,
and, and yeah, I vividly remember the first time she heard REM, and she was like not even one yet, and her eyes just went, as I'm on the radio, of course, no one can see that, but her eyes just got really big and focused, and it was like magic to her. But yeah, it's amazing. Although her favorite band's the Linda Lindas, which makes perfect sense.
yeah, they're a great band. I think that's such a beautiful thing because, they just connect to music. I have a few friends and we've gotten sent really cute videos. And luckily, some festivals that we've played at has a lot of kids, which when I see a lot of kids in the audience, then I sometimes change the lyrics to one of our there's a lyric that there's a song called FUU, which means fuck you up. And there's a lyric, the lyric says, I'm going to fuck you up, and it's repeated a lot of times. And I've changed that slightly. But the main lyric we've changed is there's a part where I say, I spy with my little eye bad bitches, and repeat it. And I've changed that to I spy with my little eye bad witches. And then all the kids start singing and then start screaming, witches, witches, witches. And I love that. And the parents they actually know the words and they start laughing. So we've done that. We've done that like 3 times. And it's been so funny. These kids being like, I spy with my little iPad witches.
Oh
I mean,
man. The other day, I took my kid to a creativity fair, and there was a DJ, and I don't think the DJ realized it was a kids event.
oh,
And he started playing "I Love the Bartender" by T-Pain, and he was like, which already is an odd choice for a kids event. And then like there's I wish I could remember the exact lyric, but there's a point where like he actually was going to like say the F word, and the DJ just jumped up and just muted really fast and then flipped it back up and then kept doing it throughout the song. Like,
okay, interesting choice there.
yeah, as opposed to segued into something different. Man, it's funny. We're almost at time, and I've asked one pre-written question, which is great.
Oh, about our album?
about you in general. But yeah, so I do like exploring the history and of what you've done. So I'm just gonna throw this one out, mostly because I practiced pronouncing this
Oh,
for like
fun.
a week. So tell me about Beint of Ska.
To what now?
Beint of Ska. Okay,
What's that?
that was so. I was digging into you, and I'm not going to pronounce the name of the show, but I found that you were on either a singing show or a songwriting show in 2011.
I did a lot of song competitions when I was a teenager.
Yes.
Because I didn't really know how to leave Iceland.
Mhm.
Like I didn't really know how to, yeah, it's tough leaving this island musically. So I tried out a bunch of song competitions and I won quite a few. And that was sort of my way of reminding myself that I could write, I could sing, and I sort of struggled with finding people that I could work with. I was in a few bands when I was a teenager, and there was always some weird power play. And I was often put in the corner of that. And lyrics is something that I need to do. I need that for my music. I love writing lyrics. I write all the lyrics for Dream Wife, and it's something that brings me a lot of joy and is a strong side of mine. And I often got pushed into not being allowed to write my own lyrics and read something that I didn't connect with. And And I struggled finding my people. And I tried to find my people through different bands, and I tried to find my people through song competitions, which was not the right place to find people, to be honest. It was very like competitive and wasn't a very collaborative sense. But yeah, I felt really blessed going to, I sort of almost like I gave up quite young on music. I got kicked out of a band. Well, they asked me to be a backing vocalist, and that's the same thing as asking me to leave. And there was some really weird jealousy going on in that band, and I didn't like it, and I didn't feel like it was ever my band. So I sort of just gave up on that and went to art school. And then I met Bella and Alice, and we just wanted to go to Canada, and that's why we started this band. And there I found this joy of making music and not just performing it. Like I'm not really good in karaoke. Like I studied opera, I studied jazz. I went to like musical institute when I was younger, and I think there's something so beautiful in getting to play your own songs and having the melodies that you make yourself, especially as a vocalist, and lyrics that you write. I mean, write very much for what's happening around us. Like I write through the lens of you know, the band, but it's mine. And I think for me, I don't think I would want to be in music unless I got to do that. So singing competitions are fun. You know, having a good voice is fun. But really the idea of things being perfect or being judged on that is just so boring. Like perfection is boring. And I think the music I love is not even close to it. And the vocalists I love, like Towns Van Sant is one of my favorite vocalists. And, you know, their voice keeps on breaking. And that's where a lot of the beauty is. But yeah, perfection is boring. Should we end on that?
All right, there's the interview. I hope you enjoyed it. I said I had a correction. It turns out that Trey Cool was the one that threw the keg at the window, looking backstage at Bottom of the Hill, and that's why there's a crack there for almost 2 decades, I think. Man, I have no idea when they fixed it, but it was definitely there for a very, 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 very long time. So, Bay Area listeners, I hope to see you at Bottom of the Hill on the 20th, and I hope we get to dance together. I think we've got a couple more editions of this still in the queue. I'm not going to tell you who we have on next, but it's if it comes to be, I am giddy as hell and can't wait to embarrass myself talking to this childhood hero of mine that somehow agreed to be on the show. Anywho, here is some good advice to carry you out. This is one more Dream Wife song. Well, not a whole song because I can't do that. But here is a clip to take you out of Don't Date a Musician.
So I think I'll be celibate for a few months or days, and then a damn guitar pick flicks my way. We'll probably talk about music till the early dawn of how I know it can never truly go wrong. What's your favorite yeah song? We watch the TV when there's nothing on. I see a bread frame is missing, a recipe for intense kissing. Let me send you my demo. I wrote it after you first met, but I'm not gonna tell you that yet. Wait, fuck, no, we spoke about this. Don't date a musician. Don't date a musician. They'll think you're competition.